Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Charlie. On today's episode, I'm going to be showing you how to make my delicious homemade chicken pot pie from scratch. It is made with chicken thighs, of course, and it is a savory type of pie. You can get about 8 servings. It's comforting, filling, especially during those fall and winter months. Flavorful and absolutely delicious. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, here's all you'll need to make your homemade creamy chicken pot pie. Let's get started with our ingredients. You will need 2 pounds and 13 ounces in weight. That's 5 chicken thighs. And along with that, you will need 3 ounces in weight. That's 1 large carrot. 4 ounces in weight. That's 1 large red potato. 3 ounces in weight of frozen green peas. All-purpose flour. Salted butter. Lard or bacon fat, whole milk. I will not be using the heavy whipping cream, and I also will not be using the cornstarch as well. You can completely omit this from the recipe. And for your seasonings, you'll need 1 medium-sized yellow onion, celery, garlic, some fresh parsley, and some bay leaves. For your additional seasonings, you will need some salt, black pepper, Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning. If you don't have this, you can use the Zatarain's Creole seasoning or the Sacré Mama Cajun seasoning. You will also need some Chef Paul Prud'homme's Poetry Magic, granulated onion, granulated garlic, and some dried thyme. And for your tools, you will need a food processor. If you don't have that, you can use a pastry cutter, a potato peeler, a rolling pin, a mesh strainer, and to bake your chicken pot pie, you will need a regular standard 9-inch round, that's 23 centimeter pie pan. And there we have it. Alright, let's get straight to it. Chop half of a yellow onion. Rinse off your celery, parsley, red potato, and carrot off with cold water. Chop 2 ribs of celery. Here I have 3 cloves of garlic. I've cut them in half. Take a garlic press and press the garlic. And there we go. Here we have our fresh parsley. I'm going to cut a small amount of the parsley off. Chop the parsley into small pieces. Take a potato peeler and peel 1 medium-sized red potato. Take a knife and cut the red potato into small bite-sized cubes. Take a knife and cut the carrot into small bite-sized pieces. Let's get started with preparing our chicken thighs. I've placed my chicken thighs into the strainer. Rinse the chicken thighs off with cold water. I like to do this step to rinse off any blood or particles that might be on the chicken thighs. Take a knife and trim off any excess skin or fat off of each chicken thigh. I've placed the chicken thighs into this large bowl. Let's add some seasoning. Add a half a teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 2 teaspoons of Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning, 2 teaspoons of Chef Paul Prud'homme's Poetry Magic, 1 teaspoon of granulated onion, and 1 teaspoon of granulated garlic. Coat these seasonings onto the chicken thighs with your hands. Preheat your fire to medium heat. Okay, let's sear our chicken thighs in this large saucepan. I let it get hot for 2 minutes. Lightly spread some salted butter around the saucepan. Add your chicken thigh pieces right on in there. Let this sear for 4 minutes on each side. Okay, our chicken thighs are nice and seared. Remove the chicken thighs from the saucepan and place into a shallow bowl. Set the chicken thighs on the side. Add 1 1/2 cups of chopped yellow onion and 2/3 cup of chopped celery. Give this a quick stir. Let this saute for 4 to 6 minutes, stirring occasionally. Add your 3 cloves of pressed garlic, 5 cups of water, a half a teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, 1/4 to a half a teaspoon of Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning, a half a teaspoon of Chef Paul Prudhomme's Poetry Magic, 2 tablespoons of chopped parsley, 4 large bay leaves, and 1/4 teaspoon of dried thyme. Give this a quick stir. Add your seared chicken thighs back into the liquid. I'm going to take a wooden spatula and I'm just going to move the chicken thighs around in the liquid. Cover the saucepan with a lid. Let this simmer for 40 minutes. At the 25-minute mark, remove the chicken thighs from the simmering liquid and place them into a shallow bowl to cool. This prevents overcooking of the chicken thighs. Cover your saucepan with a lid. Let this cook down for 15 minutes. Okay, it's been about 40 minutes total cooking time, and our homemade chicken stock is done. Now you're going to go ahead and turn your fire off. Let the stock cool completely. Pour your cool chicken stock into a mesh strainer with a medium-sized bowl underneath it. Press the contents into the strainer. This will allow some of the chicken stock to drain into the bowl. Discard the contents that's in the mesh strainer. Once done, you should have 3 cups of chicken stock left over. Place it into your refrigerator or freezer until it's nice and cold. Okay, our chicken thighs have cooled completely. Remove the skin off of the chicken thigh. Remove the meat off of the bones of the chicken thighs using your hands. Take a knife and cut the chicken thigh meat into medium-sized chunks. Make sure that you place all of your ingredients that you see here, the chicken thigh meat, the peas, the carrots, and the potatoes, into your refrigerator or freezer so that way it can get cold. Okay, here I have my cold chicken stock, and as you can see at the top, there's the fat. That's from the pan drippings from the chicken. We're going to take a fork and we're going to remove that fat from the top of the chicken stock. Preheat your fire to medium heat. In a large frying pan, you're going to add your pan drippings from the chicken stock right on in there. Let the fat melt into the frying pan. Now you're going to go ahead and turn your fire off. You should have about 2 tablespoons of the pan drippings from the chicken stock left over. Preheat your fire to medium heat. Alright, let's get started with making our pot pie filling. So in this large saucepan, I'll let it get hot for about 2 minutes. Add 2 tablespoons of salted butter right on in there. Spread the butter around the saucepan and let the butter melt. Add 2 tablespoons of the chicken fat. This is from the pan drippings from our chicken stock. And 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. Take a spatula and stir this continuously for 1 minute. Add 3 cups of chicken stock and 1/3 cup of whole milk. Stir all your ingredients together. Let's add some seasoning. Add 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of Chef Paul Prudhomme's Poetry Magic, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of dried thyme. Stir all your ingredients together with a whisk until combined. Cover your saucepan with a lid. Let this simmer for 10 minutes, stirring occasionally. Alright, it's been about 10 minutes now, and the gravy has thickened. Now you're going to go ahead and turn your fire off. Let this cool for about 30 minutes or until it's warm. Add 12 ounces in weight of your chopped chicken thigh meat, 4 ounces of your cubed potatoes, 3 ounces in weight of the chopped carrots, and 3 ounces in weight of the frozen green peas. Stir all your ingredients together. Adding the cold ingredients in here allows the gravy to thicken. Place this into your freezer for about 30 minutes. Alright, let's get started with making our pie crust. So in this large food processor, add 2 and 1/3 cups of all-purpose flour and a half a teaspoon of salt. Pulse this about 3 times. Add 6 tablespoons of salted butter and 6 tablespoons of solid bacon fat or lard. Make sure both fats are cold. Pulse this 12 to 15 times or until the butter and the fat are cut into the flour. That looks good. I've placed the dry ingredients into a large bowl. Add a half a cup plus 1 tablespoon of cold water. Stir all your ingredients together with a wooden spoon until the dough starts to come together. Take your hands and form the mixture into a dough. If the mixture has any trouble coming together, add a half a tablespoon of cold water. Place the dough in your refrigerator and let the dough rest for about 20 to 30 minutes. Okay, here we have our ball of dough. Take a knife and cut the dough in half. And from there we have our top portion and bottom portion of dough for our pie crust. Lightly flour the surface of your table. Add the dough on top of the table. Press the dough down with your hands, forming a flat circle. Sprinkle some flour on top of the dough. Roll the dough into a 15 to 16 inches in diameter circle using the rolling pin. Make sure you roll the dough thin, like how you see here. As you can see, the dough is a little translucent. That's exactly what we're looking for. Carefully roll the dough back onto the rolling pin. As you're doing that, make sure that you add flour onto the dough so that way the dough won't stick onto itself. Unroll the dough onto your pie pan. Lift up the ends to the dough while pressing the dough down into the pie pan with your hands. Lightly flour the surface of your table. Add the dough on top of the table. This is for the top portion of pie crust. Press the dough down with your hands, forming a flat circle. Add some flour on top of the dough. Roll the dough into a 15 to 16 inches in diameter circle. Make sure you roll the dough thin, like how you see here. As you can see, that's a little translucent. I'm going to take my finger and I'm just going to rub the water onto the pie crust where the edge of the pie pan is. That's going to create a seal for the pie. Add your prepared chicken pot pie filling into your pie pan. Add the filling more toward the center of the pie pan. Take your rolling pin and carefully roll the top portion of the pie crust onto the rolling pin. As you're doing that, make sure you add some flour onto the pie crust to prevent it from sticking onto itself. Carefully unroll the top portion of the pie crust on top of the pie pan. To seal the top and the bottom portions of the dough, take your fingers and press down onto both of the doughs along the edge of the pie pan. Take some kitchen scissors and trim off the excess dough. You want to leave about a half to 1 inch of the dough hanging. Take the edge of the pie dough and tuck it under into the pie pan, like how you see here, and gently press down to seal. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and preheat my oven to 375 degrees. Okay, let's crimp the pie crust. You're going to start by taking your index and your middle finger, and you're going to push the edge of the pie dough inward while pushing outwards with your opposite index finger, while the dough is in between your opposite index and middle finger. Go all around the pie crust with this. Alright, that looks good. Now it is ready to be baked. Place this into a preheated 375-degree oven on the middle rack. Bake this for 1 hour. It's been about 1 hour now for our pot pie. Let's remove this out of the oven. Let the pie cool for about 2 to 4 hours before serving. Here is the bottom of the pie pan, and as you can see, that crust is nice golden brown. That lets us know that the crust has been baked thoroughly. For best results, serve the pie the very next day so that way the flavors can settle and increase overnight. Here's the final presentation. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Homemade chicken pot pie, made from scratch by a New Orleans native. If you like my channel, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell button if you want to be notified of my videos. I have an official website for all of my recipes, including this one. Go to www.charliethecookandrews.com. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter under the name Charlie the Cook Andrews. Stay tuned as Charlie's Taste Test is coming up next. Can't wait. Now it's time to go ahead and take a bite. Yeah. Man, oh man, the flavor profile of this is outstanding. I mean, it's creamy. It has a wonderful chicken flavor, and the chicken and the vegetables are nice and tender. And then you have that crust too. Ooh. Boy, I tell you, it is delicious. Anyways, all you gotta do is try the recipe. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, have a good one. Peace.